The last time I laid eyes on my father, I was just 18, standing on the porch, clutching a duffel bag, my hands trembling as I begged him to open the door. Tonight, I stepped into the marble lobby of the downtown Hilton, wearing heels he never lived to see me grow into. A gold-lettered banner stretched across the ballroom entrance. Congratulations. Principal Richard Carter, 40 years of excellence. The air carried the stale scent of champagne mixed with catered salmon inside. Applause rang out. Glasses clinked and laughter followed stories I had been carefully written out of. I lingered in the doorway, my reflection staring back at me through the glass. The sharp jawline staring back, the one he always insisted came from his side of the family. Felt like proof of a bond I could never sever. From my coat pocket, I drew out an envelope, yellowed and creased, the blue ink handwriting undeniably mine. The same letter I had written the night I left, the one no one was ever allowed to read. I hadn't come here to spoil his celebration. That would have been too simple. I came because silence had shielded him for far too long. Every lie he spread about me had been swallowed as truth. 10 years earlier, he had declared, "She ran away. She's never coming back." Well, I had returned and I carried receipts. Soft jazz began drifting out of the ballroom, my cue to move. Sliding the letter back into my pocket, I lifted my chin and pushed the double doors open. Heads turned. Polite smiles stiffened into frozen stares. Glasses halted midair, though toast died mid-sentence. And there he was, my father, standing beside a photo collage of smiling students and trophies. His grin evaporated the instant he saw me. I smiled back. Once upon a time, he called me his pride and joy. School board dinners during parent-teacher nights, I was his shining example. Valedictorian track. Advanced placement courses. Flute solos in winter concerts. He paraded me through Carter High School with his hand clamped proudly on my shoulder. That's my Emily, future lawyer. Maybe Harvard if they're lucky, but his praise came with rules. I had to perform. Single grade less than an A. Earn silence and cutting eyes. Skipping a council meeting for a rehearsal. Wasted potential. At 17, I began writing plays in secret brief scenes about absent mothers and daughters who stayed behind. When my drama teacher submitted one of those pieces to a regional competition, I won. Juilliard emailed a full scholarship too. Their Pry-All summer intensive. 2 days passed before I found the courage to tell him. We sat at the kitchen table eating spaghetti. I said, "It's theater, but serious real. This is what I want." He didn't even look at me. Twirling his fork, he muttered, "I didn't raise you to chase dreams." Then he stood and walked away. That silence, colder than any punishment, erased the possibility altogether from that day forward. I rehearsed outside the house. I completed. My FAFSA alone worked shifts at a bookstore under a false name so it wouldn't show up on his taxes. By spring of senior year, I had a dorm in New York and a train ticket. I left behind one letter. "I love you. I need space. I'll be home someday." Believed that would be enough. I imagined him angry, maybe afraid. But I never thought he'd torch the entire bridge instead of meeting me halfway. When I returned, Sunday-like, I promised, the train ride felt quiet with anticipation. I rehearsed what I'd say. "I'm sorry. I scared you. I just needed air. But I'm not giving up on this." But the porch told another story. My key no longer fit the lock. The light always left on was dark. Knocks went unanswered. His phone went to voicemail. My mother's too. And then I saw it. My suitcase neatly parked beside the swing. A plastic bag sat on top, holding my birth certificate, social security card, and a yellow post-it note. "You made your choice. Good luck." I froze. Hours passed with me sitting on the steps, staring at that door like it might open if I just refused to blink. Neighbors walked there. Dogs passed me. I saw it in their eyes: pity, judgment, confirmation. They knew. 2 days later, I crashed on Leah's couch. On Facebook, my aunt had already announced, "Please pray for our family. Emily has run away." left a hateful note, and we fear she's with someone dangerous. Comments piled up, so sorry. Prayers. She always seemed troubled. Kids these days. He had rewritten my story. In his version, I wasn't a daughter who asked for spas. I was unstable, reckless, lost to some nameless man. My mother blocked my number. Teachers stopped replying. Within a week, my college acceptance was revoked, transcript marked incomplete. I hadn't just been abandoned. I had been erased. Not one person who had once called themselves family, asked for the truth. The first nights on Leah's couch, I cried into a hoodie. By the third night, I taught myself to cry silently. Soon I was waitressing. Graveyard shifts at a 6th Street diner. The kind of place where the coffee pot never empties and nobody cares if your eyes are swollen. I scrubbed floors, doubled shifts, and chipped away at community college classes through payment plans. No family, no FAFSA, no support, just me. A second-hand laptop. And a bank balance that rarely stayed above $50. When people asked, I said, they're back east. Technically true, emotionally false. The greater wound wasn't silence it, was how easy it was for everyone to accept my disappearance. No missing posters, no phone calls, no questions. Like I'd never been written into their story at all. But slowly, brick by brick, I built my own. Acting classes at night, weekend lighting tech for off-Broadway. A monologue I wrote caught someone's attention. This isn't just good. This is yours. That became Inheritance, a one-woman show about a girl erased by her family. 3 nights in a Brooklyn black box. 10 people in the audience, but one was a columnist for the New York Times. She interviewed me. The article What We Leave Behind When We Leave Home never named him. But he saw it. I knew because 3 days later, someone tried resetting. My email password. By then, I had an apartment of my own, friends who knew the real story, and a life I'd forged myself. Still, the silence from home roared louder than any applause. And then came Mia, my cousin. Wild hair, skipped curfews, grounded more often than free. We hadn't spoken since I was 17, yet one night her message appeared. I found something. It's about you. 3 days I ignored it until curiosity cracked the wall. I called. Her voice shook. I'm sorry I never reached out. I believed them. We all did. She had been cleaning her father's attic boxes of tax files, decorations, old-school junk. At the bottom, sealed in a Ziploc, she found an envelope. My handwriting, my words. She opened it. Read it. I love you. I need space. I'll be back. Sunday, no anger, no disappearance. Just the words of a scared 18-year-old asking for time. Her father dismissed it's that old thing. But she knew, he knew. They all knew. My father hadn't simply lied. He had buried my truth, hidden my letter, like shameful evidence, and replaced it with his version, the runaway daughter, the troubled child. That night, Mia sent me a scan. I printed it, smoothed its creases, and stared at it for hours. It felt like recovering the last puzzle piece of a life I'd been manipulated into doubting. Not long after, I saw the retirement party invitations splashed across social media. Big celebration. School board, teachers, families, a legacy of integrity. I didn't cry, didn't scream. I just looked at that letter in my hands and thought, you buried the truth. I'll dig it up in front of everyone. For a week, it sat on my desk beside a burned-out candle and a cold cup of coffee. And tonight, I carried it with me into his ballroom. Every time I looked at it, I remembered the silence that came after the birthdays missed. The college I never attended, the years I spent repairing something that was never supposed to be broken. Then I found the RSVP form posted on the school district's website. Join us in celebrating Principal Richard Carter's retirement. 40 years of service, leadership, and family. Family, that word felt like a dare. I typed my middle name, Elaine, into the RSVP. One guest, no meal preference, no +1. I didn't need backup. I had the truth. I booked a flight, borrowed a blazer from a friend, and packed two things: the printed scan of my letter and a clipping of the article I'd published in the New Yorker last year. I didn't rehearse a speech. It wasn't about revenge or theatrics, it was about reality. It's raw, unpolished, undeniable. He had built a career on discipline and image, shaping other people's children. He got to be the man with the handshake, the clipboard and the bulletin board filled with smiling kids. But he left one picture out. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was just going to walk in, meet his eyes, and remind everyone in that room, you don't get to rewrite history simply because you're the last one telling it. I hadn't seen my mother in more than a decade, not since the night I stood on our porch with shaking hands and tear-swollen eyes begging her to open the door. She hadn't. Yet 2 hours before the gala, I found myself there again. Same porch, same front step. The paint was peeling now, the bushes overgrown, the air carrying the smell of someone else's dinner. I rang the bell, no answer. I turned to leave when the door cracked open. She looked older, thinner, grayer, her shoulders hunched as though life had been pressing down for years. Her eyes landed on me, and for a second something flickered there. Recognition, guilt, relief. She whispered Emily, like the name hurt her throat. I asked only one question. Did you know? She didn't ask what I meant. She didn't need to. She stepped outside, pulled her cardigan tight, and lowered herself onto the porch swing. I stayed standing. I found the letter. I said, the real one. The one I wrote before I came home. The one he hid, her eyes closed. A slow, silent nod. I wanted to come after you, she murmured. Why didn't you? She looked out at the street. He said you were unstable, that you'd joined up with some older man that we needed to protect ourselves. He told me if I reached out, it would only make things worse. I stared at her. And you believed that? I believed him, she whispered, because I was afraid of him too. In that moment, I didn't feel anger. I felt something colder, detachment, not hatred, just distance. She wasn't the villain, but she wasn't innocent either. She had been the silence that held his story in place. The ballroom smelled of expensive wine and overcooked salmon. Laughter rang beneath crystal chandeliers. People hugged, posed for photos in front of a giant poster, celebrating Principal Richard Carter's legacy of integrity. I stood at the back, close enough to hear the clinking glasses, far enough to remain unseen until they called his name. 40. Years of service, a mentor, a role model, a father figure to so many. He stepped onto the stage in a tailored navy suit, smiling the way only men with unchallenged legacies smile. The room rose to its feet. Applause thundered. Even the mayor was there. I waited for the clapping to fade. Then I moved, one step, then another. Faces turned, eyes widened. Some people recognized me, others simply stiffened. And then he saw me. Richard Carter froze. The color drained from his face as if someone had pulled a plug. I didn't look away. He leaned forward, whispering, Emily, not here. But I had already begun. Hi, I'm Emily Carter, his daughter. Gasps. Murmurs. Forks paused mid-bite. I haven't been in this room or in this town for 10 years. That's because 10 years ago, my father told everyone I ran away that. I was angry that I disowned him. He said I left a note. I pulled an envelope from my coat. This is that note. I read aloud slowly, clearly, so no one could pretend they hadn't heard. I love you. I need space. I'll be back Sunday, then. I looked up at the crowd, teachers, neighbors, my old principal. Does that sound like someone who ran away? Silence. The kind that burrows into your spine. Chairs shifted. A woman covered her mouth. Someone glanced at him. He tried to speak. Emily, that's not the full story. I raised a hand. Don't. You've told your version for 10 years. This is mine. A voice from the crowd. Is that why she vanished? Another? I remember praying for her. Then Mia stood. She held up her phone, the original letter glowing on the screen. "He hid it," she said. "For 10 years, he let us believe a lie." And just like that, it unraveled his reputation, stitched so carefully together, unraveling thread by thread. Someone whispered. "What else did he lie about?" His jaw clenched, his hand shook. He looked at me as if I had struck a match. But I hadn't burned anything. I had only revealed the truth. And truth doesn't whisper, it echoes. The first crack spreads quickly. He tried to keep smiling, to wave it off like I was just an interruption, but the room had shifted. Admiration had drained. Suspicion filled its place. Mrs. Blake, his vice principal of 20 years, stood. "I always wondered why you shut down the theater department so suddenly." An old guidance counselor added, "You told us she had a breakdown, that she was dangerous." I didn't speak. I didn't need to. They were speaking for me. Even the superintendent, who'd been hosting him only minutes earlier, stepped back from the podium and folded his arms. No smile now. Then a voice from the back, louder than the rest. "You made her disappear to protect your image." My father didn't answer. He looked around the room and saw what I saw. His empire had never been brick, only borrowed belief. And belief, once cracked, cannot hold. He stepped back from the microphone. No apology, no explanation. Just a retreat to his table where even my mother wouldn't meet his eyes. The slideshow went on science fairs, graduation handshakes, award ceremonies, but no one was watching anymore. The story had changed. And so had the man. I didn't stay for cake. As people whispered and plates were cleared in silence, I slipped through a side door and into the cool night air. The sky was deep navy, and for the first time in years, I felt breath reach all the way to my ribs. Mia followed. She didn't speak at first. She just stood beside me at the curb like we were waiting for a bus that would never come. Finally, she said, "You were brave." I shook my head. No, I was overdue. We stood in the hum of traffic, the muffled gala behind thick walls. It felt like standing outside a funeral, not because someone had died, but because someone had finally been seen. "I think I spent years just wanting someone to believe me," I said. But I realized I didn't need belief. I needed the silence to stop. Mia nodded. "You ended it." "No," I replied. "I reclaimed it." I looked down at the envelope in my hand, the letter that was never meant to disappear. The words, never meant to be buried. I didn't need to pass it to anyone. I didn't need my father to read it. He already had, and so had they. I turned to Mia and smiled. He built his legacy on silence. I took it back. Then we walked away. Not as exiles, not as victims, but as women no longer living in someone else's story.